The once bustling and noisy city has turned into a wasteland after the disaster. The streets are filled with the wreckage of vehicles, and people have become extraordinarily cautious, walking silently to avoid making any noise. The story takes place in downtown New York, a city that typically generates around 90 decibels of noise every day. A bus leaves a small town, and Jade, holding her cat, sits on the bus. The bus crosses the Manhattan Bridge and enters the heart of New York. The vehicle stops abruptly, and the passengers start moving toward the back of the bus. Jade stands up, puzzled. As she walks to the rear, numerous meteors suddenly appear in the sky, plummeting towards the city. After the explosions, only Jade miraculously survives, while all other passengers lose their lives. The city is now shrouded in white smoke from the explosions. Jade walks helplessly along the street. A man is dragged into the smoke by a mysterious creature. Jade quickly leaves the scene.
Now! Take cover! Now!
A female soldier was dragged away by the mysterious creature. Jade, witnessing this, she ducked behind a vehicle and found another woman already there, trembling as she watched ahead. A dark shadow slowly emerged from the smoke, standing upright, with its head opening like a giant mouth. A sound broke the silence, and the creature swiftly lunged forward, grabbing a man in an instant. Jade saw an ambulance passing by and tried to approach it for help, but the creature suddenly appeared and overturned the vehicle. When Jade regained consciousness, a man covered her mouth to silence her. Jade struggled, but the man, Michael, motioned for her to stay quiet. Jade made no further noise. Survivors surrounded them, all sitting silently on the ground. In the crowd, Alex saw Jade and quickly approached. The two hugged tightly. Alex then took Jade's cat from someone and handed it to her. Holding her beloved pet, Jade felt a surge of joy. A helicopter sound then filled the air, warning them not to make any noise as the creatures were highly deadly and located humans through their acute hearing. As the helicopter flew away, a creature appeared above them, emitting a piercing scream. Jade held her cat tightly, but the frightened pet leaped from her arms. Desperate, Jade stood up, accidentally stepping on some gravel, creating a faint sound that made her freeze in place. Her cat, seemingly aware of the danger, made no noise. Alex arrived just in time to support the nearly collapsing Jade. Fortunately, the creature didn't hear the sound. Jade's cat, however, accidentally rang a bell on the floor. Jade rushed to grab her pet, but the noise alerted the creature at the door. The creature crashed through the door, and Jade hid behind a pillar, trembling. Summoning her courage, she peeked at the creature. Alex found the creature standing right in front of him, its massive jaws snapping as if sensing the presence of humans. Jade stared wide-eyed at the creature, fearing it would devour Alex. The creature slowly closed its mouth, then suddenly reopened it.
Remain silent. Make no...
Hearing a sound, the creature quickly dashed outside, and Alex narrowly escaped. Returning to her room, Jade carefully turned on the faucet and wiped the dust off her face with a towel. Outside, she saw a woman sitting at a table while a news broadcast played in the background. The military planned to destroy the Manhattan Bridge, trapping the creatures in New York. Drones flew towards the bridge, and after the explosion, the famous Manhattan Bridge collapsed before their eyes. Their only hope of escape was shattered, and now they could only communicate through writing. Jade told Alex she wanted pizza, which left him speechless, but she insisted. Suddenly, the power went out in the house, and the loud noise of the generator started. Alex quickly ran towards the generator, reaching out his arm just in time to turn off the machine before the creatures heard the noise. They both relaxed once the sound stopped. As Alex was about to leave, his shirt got caught on the machine. Alex stood there, looking at Jade, frozen in place. As he turned his head, a creature appeared and swiftly grabbed him, dragging him out the door. Jade could only watch helplessly as her friend was killed, covering her mouth to stifle her cries. After Alex's death, Jade quietly left the house to search for supplies in the stores. The city was silent, with vehicles parked quietly on the roads and seats stained with blood. The streets were deserted, allowing Jade to freely take supplies from the stores. As she was leaving, a bag with "I love New York" caught her attention. New York no longer had its vibrant colors. The air was filled with ashes from explosions, leaving only sadness and pain. While feeding her pet, a fountain ahead caught Jade's attention. Inside the fountain were two surviving children. Jade entered and handed them her last remaining food. At that moment, the sound of an airplane filled the air.
Both evacuations are beginning now at South Street Seaport. Travel south with extreme caution. Shelter on water. The attackers cannot swim. Both evacuations are beginning now at South Street.
The creatures swarmed towards the source of the sound. Jade led the siblings to hide in a basement as a large number of creatures appeared on the streets, clearly making the escape route unsafe. Once the noise stopped, Jade led them out. As she looked around, a figure appeared before her. Many refugees emerged from buildings after hearing the broadcast. Jade signaled the siblings to join the crowd while she stood still. Jade didn't follow the crowd towards safety. Instead, she went in the opposite direction, standing out among the people. Due to the large number of people, it was inevitable that noises were made during the evacuation. The creatures on the walls were already starving and pounced into the crowd when they heard the sounds. People began to flee in panic. Humans seemed incredibly fragile in front of the creatures. Jade managed to find temporary safety by crawling under a car.
Please! Please! Help me! Help!
A furious man was dragged away by a creature, and as the car's tire deflated, it sank, trapping Jade underneath. The front tire had a hole, leaving Jade with little time, and her ankle was tightly stuck under the car. In the nick of time, she managed to escape. Without lingering, she headed towards a pizzeria. The number of survivors on the streets had significantly decreased after the attack. The creature's arrival did not seem to affect her cat, who continued playing on the streets, chasing a rat. After the rat entered the sewer, the cat lost interest and wandered to the water's edge. A man suddenly emerged from the water. Although startled, the cat didn't run away, curiously observing the man. The man, Michael, watched the cat before it turned and left. While Jade rested, the cat found its way back to her. Jade then noticed a stranger standing before her. She pointed him towards the rescue boat, but little did she know, Michael had followed the cat. After Jade left, Michael followed her persistently, refusing to leave despite her attempts to drive him away. Rain began to pour, and Jade cautiously spoke to the air, ensuring it was safe before turning to look at Michael.
Duck under the rain. What's your name?
Exhausted, Jade led Michael home. When she bent down, she realized her keys were missing.
Kick it down with your foot. Wait.
With a thunderous crash, Michael kicked the door open. Once inside, Jade shut the door and searched the room for medicine, but unfortunately, she was out of her patches. It turned out Jade had cancer and needed medication to alleviate the pain. Michael, far from home and now homeless, shared in her despair. The two sat together, their individual sorrows amplifying each other's grief. Taking this rare opportunity, they both vented their frustrations. Jade woke from a nightmare. She got up without disturbing Michael, taking her cat and leaving quietly. While she was quietly reading, her cat exhibited unusual behavior. Jade turned nervously to find Michael had followed her. She took her poetry collection from him with a resigned look. As they prepared to leave, they accidentally knocked over a stack of books on the table. Jade froze as the sound of creatures' footsteps approached. They quickly fled to an open square, but the creatures, alerted by the noise, crawled out of buildings. As Michael pushed open a glass door, a briefcase fell, causing a loud noise. They glanced back in horror as a creature jumped down from an unknown floor. They had no time to pause and sprinted into a building, but their running noises attracted more creatures. As the creatures jumped down, they made peculiar sounds, and more creatures appeared above, running towards them. Jade and Michael ran into the street, where Michael smashed a car window with a rock to distract the creatures. They seized the opportunity to enter the subway station, cautiously observing their surroundings and moving slowly. Just as they intended to return to the surface, a creature appeared in the elevator, frightening Michael into covering his mouth. The creature descended the stairs slowly, relying only on its acute hearing, as its vision was almost non-existent. They had no choice but to enter the water and follow the tracks to escape. A creature had nested above them. Luckily, they had made no sound, and the water flow increased. Michael stood tensely in the water, still shaken by the earlier encounter. Jade comforted him, but her voice alerted the creature, which poked its head out of the nest. Michael, who had been quite resilient, began to cry under Jade's comfort. The creature listened intently to the surrounding sounds, and as Michael adjusted his breathing, a faint noise escaped. The sound immediately drew the creature's attention, and it quickly ran towards them. As the creature closed in, they swam away, but it was faster. Just as it was about to catch up, Michael disappeared underwater. The creature nearly caught Jade and Michael before they narrowly escaped. Jade, weakened, fainted and later woke up, vomiting water. Michael communicated with her through writing, and after confirming she was okay, went out alone to find medication for her. Human defenses were ineffective against the creatures. Damaged armored vehicles lined the streets. Michael entered a pharmacy to search for supplies. Suddenly, the cat jumped up, startling Michael as he examined the items. After the cat jumped down, Michael relaxed. After a day of searching, Michael found what he needed. As they headed back, the cat suddenly crawled into the ruins, making Michael grit his teeth in frustration and follow cautiously. This was an abandoned building, with mushroom-like organisms growing on the ground, and the scorching flames had turned the earth red-hot. The cat licked a spherical object as Michael slowly approached. A creature suddenly jumped out. Michael hid behind an iron pillar. The cat, meanwhile, had climbed onto a steel beam. Feeling even more helpless, Michael checked to ensure the screws were secure before stealthily climbing up while the creature opened the sphere. And the creature let out a chilling noise, making Michael press himself against the beam even more carefully. A swarm of creatures crawled over and began ravenously devouring the liquid inside the sphere. Seizing the opportunity, Michael slowly moved towards the cat, but accidentally made a faint noise. But Michael held his breath and wasn't discovered. The creatures had poor vision and relied solely on their keen hearing to find humans. The near miss made tears well up in Michael's eyes. He carefully placed the cat into his arms, feeling a sense of safety only by holding it tightly. Michael returned to the refuge with the cat safely, presenting the medicine to Jade for confirmation. He tore open the packaging and helped apply the patches to her waist. The patches worked instantly. Michael sat on the ground, finally allowing his exhausted body to relax. After resting, Jade chose a suitable pair of shoes, and together they set out to find pizza. The streets were devoid of human presence, with chess pieces still on tables from hurried escapes. Unfortunately, the pizzeria had been ravaged by fire. Jade, heartbroken, felt utterly devoid of the will to live. Seeing her despondent figure, Michael slowly walked over and held her. Jade shared that her father used to perform there and had promised to take her to the pizzeria after his show. However, her father got cancer and couldn't fulfill his promise, and had hoped to fulfill her last wish in her final moments, but fate seemed to mock her. Michael signaled Jade to wait there, and then left the building. Outside, he luckily found an intact pizzeria. After a long wait, Michael finally returned. Seeing the items in his hands, Jade smiled, her gratitude evident in her eyes. Eating the cold pizza, Jade finally felt a sense of peace. Watching Jade, Michael couldn't help but smile. Having a companion like Michael in her final days was a blessing in disguise. After reaching the balcony, they heard a ship's horn in the distance, signaling the last ship leaving the harbor. Jade looked at Michael as if saying goodbye, then removed her clothes, handing her yellow hoodie to Michael and carefully arranging his attire. The horn not only attracted human attention, but also drew the creatures towards the shore. Jade, with one more wish in her heart, led Michael cautiously towards the shore. Michael, no longer timid, bravely walked ahead of Jade. However, the creatures at the shore rekindled Michael's fear. With Jade's reassurance, he gradually calmed down. Jade handed the cat to Michael, and he seemed to understand her intention, tears of sadness streaming down his face. Watching Jade walk away, Michael did not try to stop her. He knew she was sacrificing herself to buy him time. The commotion drew the attention of those on the ship. All the creatures rushed towards Jade. Michael took advantage of their distraction and quickly headed towards the shore, narrowly avoiding a collision with a creature. Jade banged on car windows, giving Michael precious moments to escape. Upon reaching the port, Michael started running but accidentally kicked an empty can. The creatures chasing Jade all turned towards Michael. At the crucial moment, Michael managed to escape by jumping into the water. The creatures could only roar angrily from the shore. Seeing this, Jade breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that everything was worth it. Two strangers brought together by chance, they forged a deep bond in a short time, willing to risk their lives for each other. Michael swam towards the ship, and with the help of others, he climbed aboard.
Safe.
At that moment, he finally let out all the pent-up emotions, releasing the long-suppressed anguish. Jade, hiding in a corner, looked at photos in her hand, reminiscing about the happy times with her family. Michael pulled out a note Jade had left him from his pocket. Reading the words on the paper, he couldn't help but smile, remembering how they first met.
It's good to have been back.
Ooh, and I'm feeling good.